All right, so this week's presentation is about supply chain management, ITM 201. My name is Jack Drexel, and here we go. Start off with the quote. It says, "If you cannot describe what you are doing as a process, you do not know what you're doing at all." This is from Edward Deming. He was a famous management consultant. And this deals with uh, supply chain management, that you need to know the entirety of your process, your manufacturing process, in order to improve it. Brief overview. I'll get into an explanation, why it's important, some historical context, starting back to the beginning of the 20th century, some functions slash benefits or areas that can be improved with a solid supply chain management department, some major companies that are exemplifying the standard of supply chain management, and then I'll wrap it up with a conclusion. So a basic definition of supply chain management is that it is the management of the flow of goods and services. And this can include the movement and storage of raw materials, work in process inventory, finished goods. And the purpose of supply chain management is to increase customer value and trimming any quote unquote excess fat. So this graphic just shows us that it can start from the raw materials to the supplier, to the manufacturer, and then it's distributed to the customer and the consumers. This just is illustrating the many stops that a product has to make along the way and areas that can be improved. So why study it? It's important to study because it touches so many different things, so many different aspects of a business. And the fact that companies are going to spend a ton of money to improve supply chain management, and through that improvement, it's going to improve so many different things touched on by this graphic, showing that there's purchasing, transportation, logistics, materials, etc. There are many things that can be improved with improved supply chain management. And also the fact that today's economy is exceedingly global. So this means that companies operate worldwide, and that they need to be able to communicate with each other instantly and sync up their productions and their different branches. So now some historical context that will begin in the early 19th century. So the term supply chain management was first coined by Keith Oliver, who was a famous British logistician and consultant back in 1982. But the practice of supply chain management began in the early 19th century with assembly lines, shown here. And they became popular because people needed to improve large-scale production as cities began sprouting up rapidly, and people needed to produce large quantities of products very quickly and efficiently. So follow this creation era is what it's known as the integration era, and this is marked by the development of electronic data interchanges, or EDIs, in the 1960s. And this was a huge breakthrough, in that the main implication of these interchanges was that now people and companies in two different countries, continents, whatever, could be able to communicate things such as purchase orders, invoices, shipping notices, etc. instantly. And they could share those, and they could make sure that they're matching up and that nothing's being wasted. And this was a huge breakthrough that allowed for an increase in efficiency. And then next, we have the globalization era, which is marked by companies beginning to move outside their origin countries. So the United States moving out, or Europe moving out, mainly to the east they were moving. And they did this to gain a competitive advantage and make sure that they were cutting as many costs as possible. And this was the 1980s and 1990s. And then we have the outsourcing period in the 1990s, which is when companies began to abandon things such as vertical integration. They sold off their non-core operations, and they outsourced those functions to other companies in other countries to cut costs. And this saw supply chain management rise in importance, as now companies had different branches worldwide, and they needed to make sure that those branches were all agreeing. And so they needed to appoint individuals whose jobs were to make sure that they all lined up. And now the era we are currently in is SCM 2.0, or Supply Chain Management 2.0. And this area really is taking a look at the fact that supply chain management is very fluid, and with technological advances that we are seeing now, it begins to mean different things. So SCM 2.0 can increase innovation, information sharing, and collaboration among stakeholders while driving service delivery improvements. And there's certain software that can mean other business applications, and this era is just taking on the technological side of SCM and really just kind of goes as the technology goes. And the question mark will be the next period that will follow up. So now we'll talk about some functions. And performance measurement is a huge benefit. Companies are able to look at they're able to look at a detailed plan of what they're doing, and they're able to see where some deficiencies are, where they can improve. Manufacturing flow. So with supply chain management, they're able to see the whole process of manufacturing and what's happening when and where, and they can step outside and look at it and see where it can be improved and where they're wasting money. And another one is customer service, and now for real time, they're able to provide real time information on what's available. The customers can order, like what quantity they can order, and this is also, as I mentioned earlier. And now some top companies in supply chain management based on Industry Week's rankings. 1, 2, and 3 were Apple, McDonald's, and Amazon coming respectively. And was a new drone delivery. McDonald's is doing it with reaching 70 million people daily, and Apple is known for their iTunes store and in-store purchases. So conclusion, kind of wrapping it up, you can read that for yourself. It's just re-hitting everything that I just said. And supply chain management, focal point in the early 20th century, technology progressed, became more and more important, and customer value, it focuses on production process, and Apple, McDonald's, and Amazon are huge players. And there's the references. Thank you very much.